Hey guys, I am not sure what just happened. I have no idea what just happened. However, I am resending the link to everyone right now as we speak. So please bear with me. Give me a moment. I want to give everyone a chance to come back on. Totally not sure what happened, but it's okay because we're going to get it together. We'll get it together. All is well. So let's find... Okay, new link, everyone. So while I'm doing this, make sure that you get your tea or water, get settled and centered in yourself. And we will get started in a moment. So that's the fun part of working with technology, is that there are moments like this that are not so fun, but it's okay. All right, I'm still posting. I just want to make sure it's in the groups and on my Facebook page so that everybody can find me and join us all here tonight, because we're going to have fun talking about the heart chakra. We're going to have some serious moments, expect that, but I do want to lighten it up so that you leave feeling better than when we started this broadcast, okay? Because that's what love does. Love wants you to feel better. Love doesn't want to send you out feeling worse than when you started, right? Because then that's not love, that's just boo. Okay. So I have one more place to share this link, and then we will get started. Okay, thank you all for bearing with me. I hope you have your notebooks ready and that you're going to take some notes. And almost done, guys. Almost done. So that we can get started. I wish I could play music. I'm going to have to get a commercial license so that I can play music, the music that I want to go with this. But one thing I am going to do is I'm going to make sure that I put together a playlist for you all for all of the chakras. So I'm going to post that sometime tomorrow. Look out for it. I'm going to post it on my Facebook page, my Facebook business page, the Get You Some Free page, as well as in the Get You Some Free group. I'm not going to post this on my main page because this is for you. All right, so let's get started. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, I got a message. Wait a moment. Okay, so there are still people coming on, and someone's saying, please send me the link. I got you, girl. I got you. Okay. Just going to send this out a couple of more times, and then we'll give it a go. Awesome. All of my cute little edits are gone. It's okay. I'll add it in post. It's fine. So make sure everyone has it. And let's see what's going on here on YouTube. Make sure I actually am live. Let's see. I can't see myself on YouTube. That's funny. Life is awesome. I hope you all had a wonderful day. It's Sunday, so the sun was out a little bit in Atlanta. We had some rain, but it mostly came through the sunlight, which I think is always mystical. I feel like it's a mystical experience. So a little bit. Okay, so I can hear and see myself. And let's officially begin. I can't see who's viewing. Let's see. Will you guys pop in the chat and let me know who's on? Let's see if I can see. Can't see anything, but it's all right. Okay, there's some feedback. Okay. Hi, Tasha. All right. So Atlanta, we had some rain, but okay. All kinds of technical difficulties, but it's all right because sometimes our heart has technical difficulties too. So we're here to discuss that and come up with some solutions. All right, so let's begin. So tonight, of course, we are going to start with our opening. I'm Ninah of GetYouSomeFree.live. This is the Sister Circle Summer Solstice School. And yes, I love alliteration. People say avoid alliteration at all costs. It's so fun to try to say it. So there are a lot of S's, and my name begins with an S. It's Shekinah. So I just had to trip you guys up there. So thank you for joining me. Tonight we are going to be talking about the heart chakra. I'm wearing green and I'm wearing red on my lips to represent heart chakra colors. I do not have on anything that is heart chakra scented because I'm wearing my natural scent, and that's heart chakra centered for me. So as we begin, I want you to get settled in yourself. I'm drinking tea. I want you to close your eyes. Okay. And we're going to take in our deep soul breaths. And you're going to repeat after me. Okay. And before I do that, I want to check YouTube in the comments one more time to make sure there's no feedback or anything. Awesome. Let's get it started in here. Ready? Deep inhale. Exhale slowly. Deep inhale. Exhale slowly. Take your deepest inhale yet. And slowly exhale. Open your eyes. Look around and notice that while nothing physically has necessarily changed in the room, you should feel more grounded and more centered within your heart space. Okay? So I want you to close your eyes again and go back into that now easy breathing and opened heart space. And I want you to repeat after me, okay? I am safe with me. I love myself. I am responsible for my creations, as they are a reflection of how safe I feel in my power. I trust myself to express unconditional love and to receive unconditional love because I love myself. Take a deep breath in. Exhale slowly. Deep breath in. Exhale slowly. Take your deepest breath yet. Slowly exhale. And open your eyes. Hey girl, hey. Thank you so much for doing that with me. I feel like that always brings me back to center. Oh, I thought it was something in my tea. Pardon me. I have Mars and Virgo, so I don't like any little unidentifiable objects in my drink. Okay, so I had literally I had a playlist available for you all in the original link, and I had some links in regards to what I'm going to talk to tonight. But since you won't be able to play those while I'm doing this broadcast, because I'm not going to pay for the licensing for those, I will repost those after the broadcast so that you can study what I'm going to speak about tonight, because one of the things I'm going to talk about may not necessarily be in everyone's lexicon, at least not yet, but I believe that this is something that is going to enter into everyone's lexicon soon. And it's going to start, of course, in the spiritual community, and it's already in the scientific community. And so we want to bring those two communities together, because you really can't have one without the other. You can't have emotion without logic. You can't really have science without spirituality. So with that being said, I know some people are like, oh my God, that's not true. Okay, well, maybe it's not true for you, but this is the Get You Some Free broadcast, so let's holler. So I want to read you something from the Get You Some Free page from my website. And basically, this is on every description on the videos that I've posted thus far. So we are going to explore the chakras in sisterhood. The heart space, the heart chakra, this wheel of light, this energy of light that is projecting outwards in front of you and behind you. It's constantly sending out these vibrations. This is a very, very, very special chakra, because it is this chakra right here, this right here, that connects the as above to the soul below. When you are working on grounding yourself, feeling safe within yourself, safe enough to create your desires and being able to use your willpower in order to do so, that has to be connected here in order to connect with your throat chakra. I keep touching my mouth, but it's your throat chakra, your first eye, and then your crown. So this is the middle. I like India Ari's song, Come Back to the Middle. This is where you come back to. This is why you go into your heart space. This is why you become centered. Heather Parker, who does soul knowing Reiki, she talks about the heart space all the time. And so her speaking about the heart space helped me to incorporate it into my vocabulary and into my meditation practice, so that I become centered. This is where I go. So I want to read to you the chakras in sisterhood. If you haven't read it, or you just didn't necessarily read the description, I want to explain to you why I'm doing this series. It's not just for me. Although I'm healing, whatever I do, it's first to me, then to thee. And how I heal is by helping others as they heal. And so this isn't just for Ninah. It's not just for me to advertise my channel or to say, hey guys, come and pay me for my services. This really is a summer school. This is 7 nights of learning how to come back into your worth and to be worthy of your being, to not only know it, believe it, and feel it, but to embody it, okay? Because you can have a body and you can have an accident and you can be brain dead, but if that heart is still pumping, you're considered still alive. But when the heart stops, so I want to read to you why I'm doing this series. I think this is very important. Okay. So when you look at a rainbow, when we look at this beautiful, beautiful rainbow, everybody always stops and goes, oh my God, a rainbow. You choose to either see the beautiful blend of colors, or you could choose to see fragmented light. When we look at our sisters with fragmented sight, we don't see the full truth of who they are and how they are working to better themselves. If you encounter a sister who is too dominating, do you recognize that she has a fierce spirit and feels secure enough in herself to speak out loud unabashedly? When you encounter a sister who is too needy or too clingy, do you recognize that she has a heart that is so full of love and compassion that she must share it with others? When you encounter a sister who is too quiet and introverted, do you recognize that she has a universe of thoughts and imagery in her mind that can illuminate the dark and uphold the light? Can you see the full spectrum? Can you see yourself in her? Can she see herself reflected in you? And if not, What does your lack of sight say about your own fragmentation? We embody the light waves of the frequency in which we vibrate so that we blend together. When we blend together, we bring unawareness into awareness. We create a rainbow. And what's at the end of a rainbow? A pot of gold. The gold is the sun in you, sis. You're the real treasure, okay? This is real life alchemy, bringing things that are separate together and making them whole, purifying things that look like they're fragmented, but really they're not, okay? So with that being said, I know some people will say, well, if she's too dominant, but a lot of times a person isn't being too dominant. That person is actually being their authentic selves. But you have been raised to believe that a woman who speaks up for herself is too dominant. My mother, when I was younger, she would say that I wasn't intimidated by much. But what she didn't know was that I was intimidated by women like her. My mother was she has a very strong spirit. My mom is a pastor. So you're not going to pastor long being really timid. I don't think it works like that. My mother is a Virgo. So she's a cry loud, spare not. We go line by line, precept by precept, and we figure this out. And if you can't figure it out, find somebody else who knows somebody else who has the resources that you can utilize to figure it out. So women like her, when a woman would walk up to me, now mind you, I'm a child at this point in the story. When I was a child, and an adult woman would walk up to me and bend down to look me in my eye, I felt intimidated because she didn't come down to my level of awareness, not to come down in the sense of she needed to leave her maturity behind to meet me where I was, but to realize she had too been a little girl, and to meet me spiritually and emotionally where I was in order to show me how to rise to the occasion. Usually that's not what would happen. And so I began to feel like these women were too aggressive, too dominant, too alpha. I don't think my mom knew that. So now you know, Mom. But I remember having a conversation with my mom, and I was about 10 or 11. And one day she told me to do something. And I said, Mom, you can ask me. And she said, what do you mean ask you? You're my child. I don't have to ask you to do anything. Do what I tell you to do. And I said, Mom, that's really aggressive. And there's a difference between aggressive and being assertive. And she was taken aback, like, wait a minute, what is this child saying? And she said, okay, well, show me an example. And so I walked over to her and I got in her face and I said, this is aggressive. I stood back, but I still stood in my power and told her what I needed to say. And I said, that's assertive. I wasn't timid about it. I wasn't hiding. I used to hide behind my hand a lot because I didn't like my smile. And so, no, ma'am, you may not have my water. Pardon me. Yes, I have 2 drinks because tea makes me thirsty. Whatever. So I was able to show her that to approach me, I'd rather you be assertive than aggressive. And I remember hearing her on the phone later telling my grandmother, well, I heard my grandmother say, well, I'll be. Nene said that? So I was really proud that my mother was sharing with my grandmother something that I'd shared with her that resonated with her, because oftentimes parents won't tell a child that they learned something from them. And that's damage that we can do to a child's heart. So in me saying that, I want to go into your childhood. And I'm going to use my childhood as an example, as usual. Apparently, my cat wants to say hi. Ashira, you want to say hello? No? You just want to smell my butt? Okay. So I want to talk about the heart. And I'll explain just a little bit, since some of us have not been in anatomy class in a long time. Very briefly, the reason why I want to give this explanation is because I'm going to tie it, of course, into spirituality. So the heart's main function is to pump blood throughout the body. The body carries nutrients and waste products and is a vital force of life. It is one of the essential nutrients of the blood. Pardon me. Stop, please. 1 second. There you go. You move over there. Okay. So one of the essential nutrients found in blood is oxygen. So the right side of the heart receives blood lacking oxygen. It takes this deoxygenated blood from the body, and then after it passes it through the right atrium and the right ventricle, this blood is pumped into the lungs. So the right side, the spiritual side, takes what's lacking from the life force, which is the blood, and then it pumps it through the lungs, which is where we get our breath of life from. And here the blood picks up oxygen and loses other gases. And one of them is carbon dioxide. So once it goes through the lungs, the blood flows back through the left atrium. Then it passes through the left ventricle and is pumped into the main artery, or the aorta. And then it begins to supply the body with oxygenated blood. This is pumped through our blood vessels, all of our tissues, everywhere we need it to go to provide oxygen and other nutrients into our cells, where they are used to provide our body's essential functions. Okay, so that's what the physical heart is for. And when we tie that into the spiritual heart, the as above, create in me a clean heart and renew a right spirit within me. So the create in me a clean heart isn't just physical, because that's what our body does. It renews our blood continuously without us even asking it to. Spirit renews our blood. The universe, God, Brahma, Buddha, Jesus, you, me, I, the trees, the earth, Gaia, whatever you want to call it. We know that there is something animating us. And so we are constantly being renewed, but oftentimes we're so disconnected from our heart space that we can't feel it. Okay? So in childhood, when we're born, for the most part, people dote on babies. Oh my God, I love my baby. The moment I found out I was pregnant with my first son, I remember the whole story. I thought I was sick. And my husband said, you have been sick for 3 days and sleeping and not even using the restroom or drinking any water. Something's wrong. I'm going to take you to the hospital when I get off work. And I said, no, I'll just make an appointment. I made an appointment. Planned Parenthood was the nearest clinic. I go to the clinic. I pee in the cup. And when I opened the little cabinet to put the cup in, there were 5 cups of piss in this little cabinet. So I took mine out. I said, oh, no, honey. I took that marker and wrote my name all over my cup, top, bottom, side, because I know I'm not pregnant. I just think I have the flu, but I just want to make sure. And I set my cup way on the side. And I went in and had a seat. The nurse comes in to talk to me. And all of a sudden, I hear someone screaming, no, not again. I thought, oh, my goodness. She said, yeah, this is going to be about her 8th baby. I said, wow. Then I hear another woman screaming, oh my God, really? Why? Are you sure? You need to check. Check again. There were other cups in there. And I said, oh my gosh. Well, I know I'm not pregnant until the nurse walks out of the room, another nurse comes in the room. And I said, so, do I need to get undressed for an exam or anything? She said, oh no, congratulations, honey, you're pregnant. And I said, oh, no. There are other cups in the cabinet. And I just came in to make sure I didn't have the flu. She said, the reason why you feel like you have the flu is because you're pregnant. She said, and actually, you all are pregnant. And that's when I heard another woman say, oh my God, what am I going to tell my mama? I thought, okay, so I'm pregnant. I knew how it happened, but I was still thinking, how? This works? My uterus actually works? Because you don't necessarily have proof that it works. Even if you have a cycle, you don't have proof that it works as far as bringing a baby into the world until you become pregnant. And I remember walking out of the door and holding my womb space and speaking to my baby and saying, Mama's going to do everything in the world to protect you and to love you. And my heart, I felt like my heart grew exponentially. It's a feeling that I still can't explain. My heart expanded so much because I knew that I was capable of bringing new life and that this child chose me to bring him or her, because I didn't know which one at the time, into the world. And although I had a dream that my first child would be a boy, I still wasn't sure. And so that love literally expanded me to begin my self-love journey, because I couldn't take care of and speak up for an infant, a baby who couldn't speak up for himself, if I didn't learn how to speak up for myself. So I began to learn how to speak up for myself. And usually when babies are born, we dote on them, we love them, we kiss them 1,000 times a day, we tell them how we're going to protect them. And at some point, the vicissitudes of life take over. All of a sudden, you may find that you've now become a parent who is single. You may find that you are a single parent within a marriage because the other party is not functioning cohesively with you in regards to parenting. Sometimes that parent may pass away or their life is taken, and you just realize that you're not going to do this in a partnership anymore. Or you may reach the child's 18th birthday and the marriage dissolves, but that child still needs that parental love. And so what happens to our heart space as we grow is that we're told that our feelings aren't valid. Why are you crying? That's no reason to cry. Let me give you something to cry about. Wait, I'm already crying. Apparently, I do have a reason to cry about. It may not be valid to you, but maybe you should find out why it's valid to me. You know, maybe can you come down here and let's meet here so that you can then bring me up to a level of understanding. So then I begin to understand why it is that I cannot have a tantrum in the store for fruit snacks when I've already had 6 and that I'm going to get a tummy ache. Can we meet here in the center in our heart space? What happens with parents and children, and then as that child grows up, they complete this cycle yet again, is that the heart space, we see it like this. We see it as parent and child. When really, in all honesty, it's actually like this, because this child is closest to source, closest to life force, closest to love. Because the parent is a little cloudy, a little vague when it comes to the heart space. Maybe their heart space has been closed off. And so learning from a child, and the children shall lead them, become as humble as a child. It does not mean to dumb down yourself. Actually, it means to enlighten yourself, to bring yourself back to pure creativity and imagination and openness into learning something new. So when we go back to our childhoods, I want everyone to ask themselves this question, okay, in regards to your childhood, not Nina's childhood, but your childhood, okay? I just read your comment. That was me. I was so happy. Yes, babies are naturally happy. And Tasha, look at your baby. He is so happy. And because he has a mom who is self-aware, he is going to remain a happy baby, which is going to be awesome because we're here to break chains. We're here to break generational curses, okay? So I want you to ask yourself this question. And think about your entire childhood from age 0 to 18. What did my parents teach me about love? And it doesn't matter if they sat you down and talked about love, but how did they demonstrate love to you, whether it was spoken or unspoken? Because oftentimes, again, in order for us to survive our childhood, we place blinders on things that do not resonate with us, things that hurt us and traumatize us, in order to maintain that I have great parents. And it's not that you may not have had great parents. You may have had parents who were unaware of their own power and out of touch with their own hearts. So our heart, I'm wearing green, remember, green represents abundance, it represents love. Look at Gaia, look at Earth. People tend to believe that land is abundant when they see greenery, when they see trees and bushes and grass. Most plants have some type of green on it. If you look at roses or different flowers, the stems and the leaves are green. okay, which makes a nice contrast against the colors. And if you're ever driving on a long road trip and there are mountains in the background and there's the sun, a couple of gorgeous clouds that look like My Little Pony and the Marshmallow Man, and you got your music on, and all of a sudden there are green trees in the background and the grass is green, you just feel like you're connected with the earth. But then when things change, let's say you pull into a neighborhood that was in the middle of gentrification and things are boarded up, the trees look really sad, there's no real grass, all of a sudden you feel like you're being restricted. You feel out of place. You feel like this is not a place in which you can grow. You don't want to stay there. So that's one of the reasons why I'm wearing green. And the heart deals with abundance. But because this connects the as above to so below, it also deals with your relationship with another type of energy, money. Because money is also on this material plane, life force. Doesn't matter if money is in the form of cowrie shells. It does not matter if it's in the form of paper money, metal money, any type of money. The heart space has to be centered in order to receive and give off the energy of currency, like the currents in the water or the banks of the river. All right, so there's a little wordplay for you. So when we're small, we're constantly watching and learning from our parents, from our other guides, teachers at school, people that hang out on the corner, people that we meet at the stores that we visit, church, clubs, what have you. And you will either learn that you can create your own abundance or that you're not worthy to create your own abundance. You will learn that you can have financial freedom or that it's okay to be a slave to to money, because I mean, you're never really gonna make it outside of that currency anyway. America has a caste system just like India does, and just like other places. We call it a class system, but really it is a caste system that is very hard to come out of. And for most people, in order to get out of that, we began to emotionally prostitute ourselves. And I spoke about emotional prostitution in one of the other videos. So it's a real thing. And when we emotionally prostitute ourselves, we become enslaved to whatever is pimping us, right? And so for some people, they're being pimped out by they feel like they have this need for money, when really the need is because of their lack of money. And the essence of all of that is really not the lack of money or having money. It's being provided with the things that you desire. For someone, they may desire a yacht. For another person, they may desire a tiny home. If it makes their heart space happy, if it makes you happy, then awesome. Awesome. Because that means that you're vibrating love and happiness and contentment to the world and throughout the world, and for yourself and for your health. Because if the heart isn't healthy and it's not pumping blood, it's not regulating blood and the pH levels and the nutrients and all of the gas levels, the oxygen levels, then you're going to have some trouble. Okay, because everything else will begin to shut down. If the heart space isn't taken care of, the other chakras will become misaligned. Okay, so again, we want to come back to the middle. Just checking for comments really quickly. Okay. All right. So I want to talk more about the heart in the form of flowing. So I'm going to introduce something to you, and I want you to watch the video after we're done. I am going to repost it. Like I said, the links have all gone from the link that disappeared, but I will repost it. I'm going to talk about heart vibrations and the toroidal flow. Okay. So in order for me to talk about the toroidal flow or the toroidal field or the torus, I have to tell you a story. Okay. So it's story time. When I was a little girl, I grew up in a big family. On either side of my family, there were people everywhere. My grandmother on my paternal side had 19 children. So I have a million cousins, and I love y'all. And thanks for watching. And on my mother's side, her grandmother, my mom's grandmother, my great grandmother, had 10 children. And I think as the generational gap started to change, everyone started having less children. But I have a ton of cousins on that side as well. So I grew up with people. And I'm also a pew baby. I grew up in church. So my church was my extended family. So my life was school, well, dealing with my family in the morning, going to school all day, dealing with other people, going to an after-school program or something like that, dealing with other people, and then going to church, hanging around my church family, coming home to my family, and then rinse and repeat over and over and over again. So I'm used to being around a lot of people. But as a little Pisces child and a Scorpio moon, I pulled in, I soaked in, I absorbed everyone's emotions. And so my mom would say, oh my God, Nini's crying again. She's oversensitive. You're overly sensitive. You just cry at the drop of a dime. No, actually, I'm not crying. You're crying. You're upset, but you're used to wearing this face that says, but I got it under control, because if I show any sign of weakness, meaning really, if I show any signs that I may need some emotional support, then I'm considered weak or incapable of handling my business. So I would take in everyone's emotions, and I had to learn how to separate what was my mom's, my stepdad's, my sister's, my father's, my friends. That's not my emotion. That's not my feeling. Because if I didn't, I would be walking around carrying other people's feelings and help them to feel better. And they were going about their business, and I was still there sitting, feeling heavy and burdened down and very loaded. And so it can cause a person to close off their heart. So after growing up and experiencing what we normally experience, I began to slowly close my heart off. But that started when I realized that I no longer felt safe and grounded in myself. And when I didn't feel grounded in myself, of course, my sacral was already shut off due to being molested. So that didn't help at all. My sacral was like, I can't do nothing for you, man. I can't help you out. I've been shut down, and she's literally ignoring me. She's been taught that anything that has to do with me is a sin. Anything that has to do with me is going to make her burn in hell. Anything, any type of creativity, even if it's in a non-physically sexual form, she won't have anything to do with it. And my solar plexus was like, I mean, we're so used to everybody else telling us what to do. We don't know what to do. How are we going to tell ourselves what to do? We've been taught not to listen to who we are. We don't even know who we are. We just know that we're this person's child. We attend this school. We do this and that at this particular church. We work in this department, and this is our position in this department. We manage that. And after that, that's all we are. So my heart was going, hey, wait a minute, hold on, because her crown is wide open. She's her first eye is on fleek, but her throat chakra is shut down. We need to speak to you all. But the heart is going, no, I can't. I don't know. Every time I try, I get hurt. Every time I think I feel safe, my family moves. Every time I think I feel safe, the deacon that used to give me peppermints at church now sees that I'm a young woman and has changed his tone. Every time I think I feel safe, someone does something to me that violates who I think I am. And so I had to learn how to pay attention to those around me and watch their emotions and not count them as my own. But in learning that, I had to go through some things. And I realized I had experienced a series of betrayals, not just by men, but also by women. And I was a person who would say, I would never betray anybody. I'll never betray you. I've never cheated in my relationships. However, I couldn't understand why that would happen to me. And I was never the type to worry about another woman, or if I was good enough, if I measured up enough, if she was prettier than me or smarter than me. That was never an issue. For me, it was, okay, what did I not do? Or what did I do to allow you to think that you could do that to me? And I experienced it with women. So I was the girl who was running around saying, no new friends. And I don't really need friends. I don't need girlfriends. I hang out with boys more. They understand me more. They're less catty, which is so not true. They gossip less. So not true. They're not as emotional. So not true. I was lying to myself. And then lying to myself, my heart was going, please stop. You're closing me off even more. So a few years ago, I remember sitting down and telling myself, hey, it's time to start working on your dreams. You are learning who you are, and you are learning what your voice sounds like. You're learning how you feel about certain things, and you're asserting your yeses as yeses and your noes as noes. So let's be about this life. Well, the ego doesn't really like that. And so I started to self-sabotage. I started to send out these vibrations of hurt me, help me shut down my heart even more, so that I really can use this as an excuse not to flow in my purpose, not to stand in my power, not to feel safe and confident in my decisions. So I experienced a hurt in my marriage. And I said, okay, well, would you like an open marriage? Because, yeah, would you like that? And the answer was absolutely not. Yeah, but actually it is open. You just didn't ask my permission. Now I can go out and not ask your permission, but I don't think you would like that. You would see that as a betrayal. And when I turned to leave, it was, if you divorce me, stop right there. So you think this is divorce worthy? If I had done this to you, it would be divorce worthy, but you expect me to completely forgive you because that's the pattern. And so I said, okay, well, let's try this marriage. Let's try this relationship over again. Let's just start anew. Okay. But the hurt was there, and the hurt wasn't because there was another person in the picture. The hurt was when I asked the question, are you hurting me? And this person is telling me while they're hurting me and looking me in my eye, no, I'm not. You can trust me. That is what hurt my heart. Meanwhile, I'm in some friendships where I'm giving my willpower, I'm giving all of my ideas away, or any idea that I was afraid to assert myself, because my willpower had something to do with everyone else. Hey, you can use my willpower. Let me prostitute that off. Let me give you pieces of me. My chakra was still off. It was starting to bud, but it was still off. And it was going, I'm not really strong enough yet. So she keeps giving all of the juicy ideas that I have away to other people because she's not grounded in herself. My root was going, because we really don't feel safe in our creations. We don't feel safe and confident in who we are and what we are and how we serve. And the heart is going, I'm trying to connect you all, but she's not listening to me. She's paying attention to the pain. And she doesn't realize that she is the solution. And so I experienced a series of betrayals every time I would give something away and allow someone else to take what was gifted to me, thinking that they would treat it in the manner and honor and respect it in the manner in which I did. But the truth was I didn't, because I never would have given my treasure away. I never would have done it. I was afraid of how big my dreams, my goals, my wishes, and my plans were. I was afraid of how big the impact I could have on the world would be. And so I started to fragment and split myself up. But remember, whenever you give someone something that is unearned, and they have shown you that anytime that happens, they don't understand its worth, they're going to do the same thing to you. So if you ask me to sign a contract with you and then you dishonor the contract, Anything else I give you, you are going to dishonor as well. Please hold for one moment. I need to take care of something in my home and I will be right back. But when I take care of this, I am going to do it from my heart space. Okay, I'm proud of myself. It came from a heart space. You know, if I didn't, because I would have a different face. Okay, so in experiencing these betrayals and fragmenting myself off and learning that people show me who they are, I remember reading a book by Star Jones years ago where she talked about how to place people in your lives. And she used, what is it called? A bullseye, a target board as an example of who needs to be here in bullseye and everyone else, how you stagger them out. And I called associates, friends in my life and kept them closer than I needed to. And I'd allowed everyone really in my bullseye space. And I realized, wait a minute. I love the quote, when people show you who they are, believe them. Believe them the first time. However, the other side of that is when people show you who they are, they're showing you who you are to them. They're showing where you are in their lives. So people will show you where to place them in your world. Everybody can't visit your home. There are times when if I need to have a session, sister girl, the situation that you are in and the vibration that you are vibrating right now, you cannot come to my home office. We're going to meet at the McDonald's down the street until we get that taken care of, because I don't want that type of energy in my home. I'll get home or this person will leave and I'll wonder why my child is acting weird or why I just feel off because I've taken on that energy. So I had to learn how to honor myself by allowing people, that it's a gift to allow people to show you not only who they are and where they need to be placed in your life, but to show you what they think of you. People will show you that, okay? It's almost like tipping. There are people who will tip an enormous amount on a small meal because they just honor and respect the industry or honor and respect wait staff. They honor and respect the relationship between being waited on. They didn't have to do the work. They just had to show up. They didn't have to cook. They don't have to wash the dishes. They didn't have to come in and prep. So they make sure that they take care of the wait staff. And then you have other people that will say, they didn't even do anything. They just brought my food out. Because they don't understand the value of the exchange. The heart is always exchanging. It is exchanging lack and replenishing it with abundance. Okay? Those four chambers, they are working together. The left and the right side are working together. It's a constant exchange. And we're constantly exchanging energy from our front, from our back, from our sides, our whole aura, everything. It's a constant exchange of love. And there's a point I want to make, but I have to put up something really quickly. Let's see. Yes. So I want to tie the heart back into the rest of the chakras. On day one, we talked about the root chakra, okay? And the reason why your ungrounded root chakra creates crisis is because that's what you were experiencing. And it doesn't matter, crisis is just the overall umbrella. So if you come from a family of alcoholics, 9 times out of 10, you either are going to become an alcoholic or you are going to draw alcoholics in your life or some form of addiction. Okay. I had a friend who she had come from a family full of alcoholics, but the guy she was dating was sipping on scissor. And she said, well, he's not an alcoholic. He sips on the syrup. My love, it's the same thing. Okay. So when your ungrounded root chakra creates from a place of crisis, then with your sacral chakra, you end up smothering it. You end up smothering your creative space. You end up smothering your, I know people say that your solar plexus is your I am, but for me, in order to create, you have to create from your I am space. And so when you're creating and co-forming and co-shaping from your sacral, or not, because it's smothered, then you create oppression, suppression, depression, and addictions. And when you create that in your sacral, you're stripping away your willpower. You're stripping away your, from the solar plexus, you're stripping away the connection between your power center and your center of choice. You're stripping that away from your crown, because this is where you get information from the spiritual realm, from your lovely imagination. This is where all of that comes from. For some people, the imagination is God, okay? Because if you can think it, if you can see it, you can create it. And God is a creator, right? You're a God, I'm a God, he's and she's a God, we're all gods, okay? So when we get to that point where all of these chakras are off, you're not able to receive unconditional love. And years ago, I had a couple of friends, we were going back and forth over what unconditional love was. And we decided that we did not believe in unconditional love, because unconditional love doesn't hurt people. You're not abused through unconditional love. I have conditions on my love. You can't hit me. You can't do this. You can't do that. But the truth of the matter for me, as I've grown, is that I really hadn't experienced conditional love, unconditional love. As an adult, I hadn't experienced that. And even as a child, I thought that I hadn't experienced it. But when I go back, I look at how I grew up and how most of my family members' hearts were so guarded. It was hard for them to love one another and to see the family as a rainbow rather than fragmented pieces. Why she all green today? She's just trying to spark and shine. I'm yellow. You can barely see yellow, but it's okay. Yellow is still a popping color. Well, I'm indigo. Indigo is just like violet. Shoot. No, it's not. I'm different. She bougie. She's trying to be different, saying she indigo. All kinds of mess. And look, he's over there red, trying to show everybody everything. He's so cocky. And the orange is saying, nothing rhymes with orange. I'm so different. I'm so weird. I'm so out of place here. I don't like, no, everybody spits out the orange Skittles. I don't just, You have all of this discord because the heart is not able to receive what unconditional love truly is. Unconditional love means I can love you for who you are and where you are. That does not mean that I have to subject myself to anything that does not resonate with me, anything that I may feel is harmful, because I know that when you're trying to harm me, you're really harming yourself, and you're not acting from a place of love. Unconditional love does not seek to harm. It seeks to grow and expand. It seeks to honor and give reverence to whatever it is that it is loving. Okay? The earth doesn't say, oh my God, the platypus, what kind of animal is that? I will give no food for that. Oh my God, the mosquito. No, you can't have any human blood. It's not. We're all ecosystems. We all feed off of one another. We have ecosystems within ecosystems in ourselves. And when we're operating outside of love, we become automatons. We become so conditioned by our environment. I like to say that there are times when we operate as amoebas. There are times when I was operating as an amoeba. I didn't have a real personality. I did whatever anybody told me to do. I was just here. I was a lump. And when you are not heart-centered, you may as well be a lump on a log, okay? Because you're not giving your gift of unconditional love and you're not receiving it. You're barely surviving. Barely surviving. And what happens when people barely survive? They're not the most loving and fun people to hang around. When we shut ourselves off from the world because we are so afraid of being hurt, so afraid of being misused and abused, we then begin to mistreat, misuse, and abuse ourselves, because we're all here to share with one another. If we weren't, we wouldn't come through two beings. We would just appear. We would come out like foam in the sea or drop down from the sky, whatever. We would not come through a heart-centered being. We are so connected, but we really believe that if a person hurts you one time, that we cut them off. Meanwhile, we're hurting ourselves all the time. All the time. And we forget that there are times when we may have hurt people, but they weren't able to speak up and say that we hurt them, or they were afraid of our reactions because we've shown them that we don't care about their feelings. I cannot say that I love myself while I'm trying to hurt you, because to hurt you is to hurt myself. Period. End of story. We don't even have to go deep into that. We develop cords with one another, vibrational cords. And unfortunately, the lower vibrational cords are thicker and stronger. This person hurt me, and I'll always remember that. There are people who are 65 years old still talking about the bully in preschool. Or what, I guess they didn't really have preschool then, but still talking about the bully that they met at the ice skating rink when they were 4. This person may have actually written them a letter 45 years ago and put it in their mailbox, went on with their lives, hoped that that person forgave them and changed their ways because they saw that person's reaction. But this person is still harboring on that one-time hurt and pain situation. I was able to forgive all of the betrayals that happened to me, because I first had to forgive myself for allowing them to happen, for setting myself up. I was not a victim of my circumstances. I had become a victim of my own choices. I had become a victim of my own actions or the lack thereof. I had to be honest about that. I couldn't cry when I found myself and 3 children in a domestic violence shelter, because I didn't make the choice to leave. I remember seeing a quote, when the pain of leaving is less than the pain of staying, you know it's time to go. And the thought hit me so hard. Why do I have to wait until it gets to that point? Who taught me that I have to wait until it gets to that point? Well, I grew up in a family where you were just supposed to keep praying and keep praying and keep praying, but allowing a person to abuse you. And I had to learn that that's not what love is. It's not. There are people, I have a person who's upset with me right now because I chose me. I chose to remove myself from a situation that did not serve me well. And I could tell that it wasn't serving this person well. And the person was upset because I removed myself from the situation. However, I'm a firm believer that people grow. And so I choose not to keep that person in their place of hurt. They can't hurt me. That's not going to work. However, when I see this person the next time, it's, hey, how are you? I love you. In that moment, that person's reaction will tell me everything I know, or their response will tell me everything I know. We react from a closed off heart. We respond when our heart is open. And I know you're probably saying you have had so many hurts and pains, and this has happened to you, and that has happened to you, but also, what have you done to yourself? And when I ask that question again, it's not gaslighting or victim blaming. What decisions and choices have you made or have refused to make, so that the universe says, okay, I'm going to use this person to teach you a lesson. I really want you to know that I'm listening to your prayers, and I'm trying to show you how to move out of the situation and create something new, to renew yourself and renew your love and to grow your love. But I'm going to have to go ahead and allow you to be hurt. When my boys were small, my grandmother told my oldest son, he loved cooking with her. And she said, well, he said, Grandma, how did you know you were a chef. Well, he didn't say grandma. They called her Grambo because she was strong like Rambo. So he said, Grambo, how did you know you were a chef? And she said, I knew I was a chef when I got burned the first time, and I wanted to cook afterwards. So my little 4-year-old took that as, you cannot be a chef until you get burned. So he was determined to get burned, and we caught him a couple of times. And at some point I said, guys, we're going to have to let him get burned. Hopefully it will be a 1st-degree burn, but we're going to have to let him get a little burn so that he understands why we're trying to protect him from being hurt. And one day, sure enough, we heard a yelp. He burned himself. It was just a tiny burn, but it was just enough for him to say, I'm a chef. I'm officially a chef. Oh, it hurt so much. He never wanted to be burned again. He didn't even know that the burn could get worse. He just needed just enough pain to have him to stop seeking out something that would cause him pain. And it's the same way for us. Go to your inner child and ask your inner child, if you keep getting betrayed, my love, are you betraying yourself by giving fragments of yourself away? And when you give the fragments of yourself away and people don't do with the pieces of you that you want them to do, then you begin to resent them, thus closing off your heart. Little child, my love, are you getting hurt by people lying about you, gossiping about you, mistreating you, trying to tear you down in front of people? You've developed haters, which are really lovers. What is it that, I love you too. See? Where is the love? Here is the love. So ask your inner child questions about how you grew up seeing what love was. For me, I thought love meant that if you were in a relationship, the guy was supposed to fight you and argue with you and cheat on you and hurt you. But you show up in public and you just smile it away. Yes, everything is fabulous. Love is grand, isn't it? Even though we argued on the way here and we're going to argue on the way home. It's awesome. I thought love was, for me, constantly being there for other people and putting other people first, so that when you were in need, they would put you first. I had to heal my inner child of those lies, because that's really what they were, of those hurts and pains and struggles that did not serve me. How could it serve me? How can pain serve you except to bring you back into awareness? Usually when you're in pain, you want to do something about it. But when you're obsessed with something that you cannot have, or something that you're trying to control, when you are suppressing your emotions, when you are depressing yourself and constantly living from the pain of the past, or when you are creating anxiety over not being able to know what's in the future, trying to control the future, or being just completely afraid of the future because you think the future is going to look just like your past, you are not being centered. You are completely out of alignment. And that is not anyone else's issue, anyone else's problem, anyone else's concern, nor anyone else's consequence, but yours. Because your heart is yours. And if you've given out fragments of your heart, go get to collecting. It's collecting time. Okay? I'm torn on that conditional, unconditional love thing. I still see that talked about. Oh, so let me get into this lovely, because I want to answer that. I want to get into this lovely mushroom story, and that will explain the toroidal flow, or the toroidal field, or what we call the torus. Okay, Torus. So, oh my gosh, I'm going to share that story. All right. So at some point, I knew that I wanted to expand on my spiritual journey. And I started to research. I have to research everything. I have Mars and Virgo, I need to know. And I wanted to know about magic mushrooms, or psilocybin. And in order for me to learn about that, I knew that at some point, the more I studied and the more I decided that I was ready, that my teacher would come. So I studied for about 1.5 years, just on and off of not just the effects, but why I felt the need to utilize this plant medicine. And the more I studied, the more I was intrigued, and the more I fell in love with the idea that I could use something from the earth to expand my consciousness. And so my teacher arrived, and I wanted to make sure. I never want to do anything that will take me so far outside of myself that I can't take care of my children if for some reason they call and say, hey, Mom, I'm at camp. I had an accident and you need to come pick me up. I may not be able to physically drive, but I can call someone and say, hey, I need to go pick my child up. So I wanted to make sure that this was something that I could do with or without my children being around. So I acquired some golden teachers. Golden teachers they are. And I began my journey after fasting for 3 days. I am not suggesting that anyone seek out psilocybin or magic mushrooms. However, for me, it is not anything that is completely recreational. This, for me, was something sacred, something holy, and something that was to be honored. And so I sanctified myself in a way. I made sure that my temple was clean and ready to receive the gift and the messages and the lessons that were going to come through for me. So I cleaned the energy in my home, I cleaned the energy within myself. It took a while for me to set my intentions and to narrow them down. And I wrote out about 11 questions and my intentions. I came up with a playlist that I thought would help. I made sure that I had all of the things that I needed to help me enjoy this journey. I'd read plenty of forums, and one of the things that I made sure that I stopped paying attention to was anyone who had had a bad trip or a bad journey, because that was not my intention. And I saw that whenever someone had something like that, usually they were with other people. And this opens your vibrations up so much. It completely opens you up that it's not a good idea to be around people who have not either experienced this in a holistic manner, and people who just think it's just a drug, a party drug, because it is not. And so to me, you are being granted access into the Holy of Holies. You need to take a shower before you go in that bad boy, okay? And so I put my kids to bed and I began, put my playlist on, the lights were down low. I sat in meditation and I started seeing at first the little fractals, I saw little lines shooting by, and all of a sudden things started to change. And without going all into the journey, it became much more vivid. If anybody wants to know more about this, you can hit me up, inbox me, and I can tell you more. And I realized at some point I was in because I was leaning back, Matrix style. And my husband ran over and he said, oh my God, Ninah, like, you're so contorted, you're gonna fall. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm resting on a nebula. You don't see it? It's right here. I was in the cosmos. I was in the cosmos. All the little, if you think about Dr. Strange, when he was in the cosmos, I was there. And immediately out of my mouth uttered the word, Mama. Because I grew up in the church, I expected a masculine energy. I thought I would say, okay, maybe God is real, or what up, dude? How you doing? It was Mama. But the way it came out it was like I was a baby again. Mama. And she answered all of my questions simultaneously, but separately, but at the same time, so cogently. I said, the veil has been removed. And she said, there is no veil. You just think it is. Having all of my questions answered about life up until that point, like that, blew my mind. And so I asked her, I said, what else? And she said, let's enjoy one another. And so at some point I realized, oh, I forgot to ask another question. And I said, Mama, what does love look like? But as I uttered the question aloud, My oldest son from the back room, I forgot he had had a later bedtime, so he was in his room and he was in bed, but he wasn't asleep yet. And he yells from his room, "Good night, Mom." But as he yelled from his room, "Good night, Mom," it was the fastest and slowest verbal communication I have ever heard in my life. On one part, it was like, "Good night, Mom." And on the other side, it was, "Good night, Mom." But in that vibration alone, there was no time. And the first utterance of his mouth, the "g," I started to see something begin to grow. I'm going to actually see if I can pull it up on my phone, and because this is so important, I want you to see what I'm talking about. So the shape started to come up. Let's see. Let me pull it up for you. Oh gosh, it's hard to even find one image that can show what I saw, but I'm gonna see if you can, hold on, see it. So here's an image, and as you can see, it's moving, but I'm going to show you a different image that's still. So maybe if I turn the lights down, you can see it better. So here we go. There. So I started to see this shape come out. And as it came out, the colors were the deepest purples, the deepest, richest purple hues and pink hues that I've ever seen in my life. And my son's favorite color is purple. So this gorgeous geometric shape that I'd never seen before started to expand and envelop me. And as it enveloped me, I knew what love looked like, what it felt like, what it was, what it is, what it's always been. And there is no sin. It's not real. There are no real mistakes. We are kids on this planet. We only get about 100 years out of all the time to be here, to explore and to become. 90-year-olds are kids in a lot of things. This is why we go back to childhood when we get older. We're all learning about ourselves and expanding ourselves. And sometimes we learn through pain. Someone hurting you teaches them how not to hurt other people by not hurting themselves. But we're not all, I don't want to say we're not all innocent, but we all cause pain in someone's life. If we haven't caused pain in anyone's life, ask your mother how she felt when she was giving birth to you. 9 times out of 10, if she even had mild cramps, that's still uncomfortable. We have made some people uncomfortable. We have made some people not like us. We have made some people hate to see us coming and love to see us going. That's the nature of life. And unconditional love, one of the reasons why we cannot get with unconditional love is because we do not love ourselves unconditionally. We just don't. We will sit there and nitpick and talk about ourselves to ourselves and hold ourselves down, and then go out in public and dare someone to try to hurt us like we hurt ourselves. But that's exactly what we ask for when we are not centered in our heart space. That's exactly what we do. It's say, I don't know how to recreate and reproduce anything else besides pain. So can you meet me here? Can we meet up together? If you talk to your partner right now, or if you go back into conversations with your previous partners, if you got to the point where you all talked about your childhoods honestly, you will find that your vibrations were the same, that a lot of the family dynamics that you had were the same. Even when they don't look the same, they may look the opposite. Remember, opposite attracts. It's all a spectrum, whether you're on this end or somewhere in the middle. Something that's just one side of the same coin. It's either heads or tails, but it's on the same coin, and it all gets spent the same way. And so I've never been to an establishment that said you have to have all of your coins facing heads up or tails up. We don't accept it either way. We are accepted either way. That's what unconditional love is. That's where mercy comes in. And that's where grace comes in. Mercy and grace comes from the heart, because that from the heart reaches the heart. This is why you can watch something and say, that touched my heart, because you can relate to that. You can resonate with that. Okay? And for other things, you might say, oh, that was nice. You know, it was a dog rescuing another dog. It doesn't really, that was good, because that may not resonate with you. Watch people who have closed hearts. They'll show you who they are. If an animal is injured, they'll go, oh, kill it. It's just a dog. It's just they minimize life, because that's how they feel about their own lives. Ask a bully why they bully someone. When you get down to the nitty gritty, I've had a couple of bullies apologize to me. One of my bullies told me why she hated me. And I've told the story before. I would ask my mother, why does she keep doing this to me? And my mother said, Nene, mind you, this is 1986. She said, you can be pretty or intelligent, but you can't be both. And she hates that about you. Years later, she told me, she said, I was smart, but I wasn't pretty. And you were pretty and smart. And I said, you know what's funny? I actually thought that I wasn't smart nor pretty. And I thought you were pretty and that you were smart. And she said, what? I said, do you see that? I said, isn't that amazing? And we played this dynamic of the bully and the victim. And really, we were both victimized by our own thoughts of lack. And it was still the same vibration. It really was. And we were both able to heal and come together and see ourselves not as fragments anymore, but as sisters who wanted the same thing, to both be seen and heard, validated and recognized that we both were pretty and we both were intelligent. And this is something that happens even until this day with adults. Even with men, I want another man to see that I'm capable. I want another man to see that I'm a real man. I can handle my business. I'm a this, I'm a that. Men, I don't think a lot of men understand that a lot of times they're expressing their virility or the lack thereof. And a lot of women will say, no, they know. They're always having pissing contests. Some men are unaware of that because they weren't taught that that's what that was, and that they don't have to do that with other men, because that's a form of separation. So after you go through your childhood and you begin to explore and write it out, type it out, record yourself in regards to the way that you were taught how to love people, how to give love to people, and how to receive love from people, because again, it's an exchange. You are going to begin to see where you may have closed off some things, or where you may have opened up so much that there were no boundaries. And so because there were no boundaries, people decided to go as far as you would allow them to. Okay? But again, that's always up to you. This is your heart space. You are in charge of it. So you can become enslaved to being so open that there are no boundaries, that people take complete advantage of you because you think that's your level of worth. Or you can become enslaved to the point of closing your heart off, so that the only way you get attention and love from people is always having a crisis. I'm going to take my own life, or I'm just going to leave and disappear, or you're going to do a Ninah and run away at 15 from a nice warm home in the wintertime and end up in a crack house with no windows and a bunch of 16-year-olds either pregnant or having babies, stuffing drugs, and you're sleeping with a gun in your panties because you don't want to get raped like the young lady got raped next to you while you were sleeping the next night. And you realize, oh, I'm the prodigal son. This is not the way. No, my mama, we have heat at my house. We have food in my refrigerator. I may not have wanted that pot of navy beans, but they sure sound tasty after not eating for 3 days. Or getting constant gas from eating White Castles. And these people don't have any tissue, but it only costs 39 cents. And every time you buy a roll, somebody steals it. I got myself back to my home and had to realize that even though I experienced some hurts and pains in my home, that there was still love and room for me to grow there. So a lot of people will run away and wait for people to come and find them, thinking that that means that they are loved, not realizing that they are addicted to being hurt. They're addicted to pain. And at some point, when the people stop showing up because they recognize that you have an addiction and they no longer want to be an enabler, you feel like the world is crashing in on you because no one loves you. Well, you're right. No one can love you the way you want them to love you if you don't love you. No, my mother taught me no one is going to take care of anything that you have if you don't show them how to take care of it. And an easy example, she would say, look at our neighbor's yards across the street. There's paper all over the yard. I had a friend to come over and we were eating candy and she dropped a piece of paper in the yard. And it hit me. I said, oh my gosh, because we don't have paper in the yard. I said, wait, you can't do that. Let me get you. There's a trash bin in the house. And she said, oh, right. And she looked around. She said, oh, I didn't even realize that. She said, in my house, we just throw it wherever. I said, oh, I get it, Mom. I got it. I understand. That's the same thing that happens with your body. Remember I talked about the solar plexus and being poked until I decided you're not going to poke me anymore. You are violating my personal space. I didn't realize that I needed to honor and protect my own personal space. Your heart will tell you, and it'll make you aware of when someone is getting too close to you and violating your boundaries, because usually we do this when people get too close, or kids do this. And unfortunately, parents will override that child's will and their intuition and say, but that's your uncle, or that's your auntie, or girl, that's just so-and-so. And I still don't care for so-and-so. And it might not be that I don't care for their personhood. They just may be musty, mama. That just, maybe he just put it in and followed him in. And right now I just don't want to be all up on that space. Or maybe I can sense that something is amiss and you should listen to me because, again, I'm close to source. So because our inner hearts as children have been shut down, we are still operating from that place. I want you to grow up, sis. I want you to grow up. Let's grow together. Let's grow not just up, but into love. I want you to watch the videos that I post. I'm going to post them probably within 10 minutes of being done with this broadcast. I want you to watch these videos and learn about the toroidal field and the toroidal flow. It took me 2 weeks after that journey. It was going back to the mushroom journey story. Once I was almost completely enveloped by this toroidal field, as I reached back to say, Mama, this is too much. I could feel it. My whole body, it felt like my entire body was going, vroom, vroom, vroom. And she said, I'm going to pull back because your body wouldn't be able to handle this. And as she pulled back, it was the last syllable of the good night, Mom. It was a good night, Mom. That was it. And she pulled back. And then I was in a different part of the journey, but I never forgot how I felt. I felt completely whole, completely loved. There was nothing that I could have done to separate me from source. There was nothing that you can do that will separate you from source. And it took me 2 weeks to find out what that was. I kept describing it to everybody. Okay, there's this shape, and it does this thing, and it does this, and it comes out, and it goes. And people were like, what? And finally, I kind of mentioned it casually to someone in a grocery store, and they said, oh, I know what that is. That's a torus. That's a toroidal field. Say what? We were talking about music because I was saying that on my journey, I've always known this. I've always felt it. But to know that music is the universal language. And people will say, well, math is actually the universal language. Well, you can't have music without math on this mundane plane. And you can't understand music unless you can read music. I don't mean reading the scales. I mean energetically reading music. There are people who have never read a lick, a line, a note of music, but they can play music. And then you have some people who actually can read, and they don't step outside of what's on the scale to explore the breadth of what music is. You can go any place in the world, and if you do not speak a person's language, if you play music, oh my gosh, then you begin to feel this exchange, this vibratory exchange. And both of you guys are smiling and you're dancing because it's the universal language. And so this person told me what it was. I went to look it up, and the first video I came across was on spirit science. Of all places, I didn't think that they would talk about that. And it connected the toroidal field with the heart. And that's how I knew that I knew that I knew that I had seen and experienced pure love. That's what we all want to experience. But we've been taught that we're tainted, that we're sinners, that we've made mistakes, that we are to hide our mistakes, that we are to be flawless, and that we are to be perfect. You know what makes a perfect human? A human who experiences the breath of life. The breath, not the breath, the breath, the expansion, the broadness of life. And sometimes the scale is like this, or like this, so that you seek for it to be like this. And that you know that when you're teetering, you can pull yourself back to the middle. Thanks, India Ari, for that. So as I wrap up this session, of course, we're going to go back into our closing, but I want to make sure that I'm going to address any comments. Hi, Chelsea. Hello, Chelsea May. Or is it Kelsey? Maybe Kelsey, but how you doing, Miss May? Yep, I listen to and look at my child to gauge people more. Now, yes, the babies know and the animals know. Yes, isn't that amazing that it happened like that? You are connecting so many dots for me right now. Hi, Cynthia. Right, yes, okay. So if you all have any questions, I'm gonna take 2 minutes as I talk. Take these 2 minutes to type out your questions. If you have any questions or you want me to expound on anything, I have a couple of songs that I'm going to post, and I'll get the playlist together tomorrow for you all in regards to the chakras. So please check the comment section. I'm going to tell you right now so you can look them up, but I want you to come back and check the comment section. One of the songs, I'll read you the lyrics while you all are typing out any questions, because this song is so beautiful to me. It's by Rochelle Farrell. That's my boo. And there's a song that she sings with her brother, and it's called Reflections of My Heart. And I could almost cry every time I hear this song, because to me, this is such a heart chakra, unconditional love song. And I've always wanted to save this song for my, what I call my real wedding. So that, you know, the next time I get married, it won't be because it's an ultimatum from the guy that I'm with, but I'll be in perfect agreement with him. And this song is this, I'll know that I want this person in my life exclusively, and that I want this person as my life's partner when I play this song for this person, okay? So the lyrics are, he boggles me. When she sings that, he boggles me when he looks at me. The motorcycle wants to be all up in my video. You done yet? No? Okay. He boggles me when he looks at me. I no longer see what is right before my eyes. Something happens and I don't know why. I begin to fall. So this is her part. And then he says, she looks at me and alters reality. There's nothing more to see but what is right before my eyes. Something happens and I don't know why. And they say together, isn't it funny how we see the same thing in each other? It feels like we're a mirror to one another. And the chorus is, it's hard not to sing this, y'all. I believe there's a doorway to me inside you. I perceive a sure way to love, honest and true. When I look in your eyes, see familiar surprise, see reflections of my heart. And that's just part of the lyrics, but that song is so important for those of us who are healing when we think that our vibrations should not be responsible in bringing us the things that we don't want. We think that our vibrations are only bringing us the things that we do want. But we do want these lessons of whenever we are being pulled towards pain or drawing pain towards us, to use that as a cue, not a trigger, not a, oh my God, he's going to hurt me. Oh my God, she looks like she's about to hurt me. And to react and to panic and to cause this crazy scene of, I'm trying to protect myself, so I'm going to either shut my willpower off or over assert it and be over aggressive. But to use it and turn that trigger into a cue to say, oh, I know that we can go down a rabbit hole of pain and it'll be so hard to get out of that. Why don't I pull myself back to the center? It does not matter if that other person pulls themselves back to center. That is not your job to babysit their emotions. I have to pull myself back to center. I have a couple more minutes because I started late. So here's my final example. One of the last arguments I had in my previous marriage, I hadn't been out in a while. I had been staying in to appease my husband, but I knew that I needed to go out and expand myself and to be with other people and just to enjoy a good time outside of the home. I was not depressed or suppressed. I was enjoying myself and working on self-love. And so a sister friend invited me out to go to the movies. If you all know me in real life, people think I live in my car. They would say, you just leave in your house and shower, but you're always in your car. You're always driving. I drive so much that this time I realized I didn't have to drive. So I was so excited. I go out on a Saturday evening. We go watch a movie. We eat. I come home at about 11:57. No, not 11:57. Right before then, after we left the movie theater, we went back to my friend's house and we were both thinking, oh my God, oh my God. And I was looking at her and she was looking at me and I said, I don't want to say this out loud, but I think somebody stole my van. And she said, me too. Oh my God. And so for maybe 2 minutes, we're trying to figure out what to do. And then we realized I didn't drive. She was so used to me driving that we both thought I had driven and we cracked up laughing. So she brought me home at 11:57. I realized, oh, I'm so used to driving. I don't have my house keys. So I called my boys thinking that they were up because it was a Saturday night, having to open the door, but they were asleep. I don't think that's ever happened before or since. It was so strange. And so I called my husband and he answered and I said, hey, love, I'm so sorry. Were you sleeping? He said, no. I said, can you open the door? Of course. Opens the door, speaks to friends. I go in the house and did you have a good time? I said, I really did. I'll tell you after I get out of the shower. Took a shower. I come back. He's snoring. Okay, cool. I'll tell him in the morning. I go to sleep. For the next 3 days, I get a silent treatment. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. But I tell people in my home, if I'm silent, that means I'm working on something inside myself. And I have to make sure that I apologize and work on and forgive myself so that I can then express what's happening. So maybe he's working on himself. I don't know. So I was ending a session with a client and he walked into my space and he said, you. And I said, whoop, hold on. I could feel the vibration. I said, hold on. Finished, walked off. And I brought myself into my heart space. I knew that whatever it was, if you've been silent for 3 days, this is going to be some shit. So I decided to open up and to listen, not to what he was going to yell at me for, but for what his heart was really saying. So I allowed him to go on this tirade. You, woke me up out of my sleep. You left your keys. I had to come down. I couldn't even go back to sleep. You disrupted my sleep, blah, 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 blah. And I waited until he was finished. And when he was done, he said, why aren't you saying anything? I said, I just wanted to make sure that you were finished, because sometimes you say I cut you off, and I didn't want to cut you off. I'm finished. You should know I'm finished. Okay, well, now that I know, I said, do you want me to speak, or do you just want to leave that there for right now? You need to be accountable for yourself. I said, okay. He said, you're always talking about accountability. Be accountable. I said, okay, but will you allow me to be accountable? Yes. I said, okay. I apologize. I did not mean to wake you up early. I'm sorry that I forgot my keys. I will do my best to make sure that that does not happen again. He goes on a tirade, and then he brings up an X. Why are you bringing up an X? Oh, because you're reacting to something rather than responding. So I got up and I walked into my kitchen to fix myself some food, and he followed me. And he continues to try to argue with me. And I said, okay, listen, because I'm fixing my food and I don't want this energy in my food. I said, you told me your ex would do things like that and say sorry, but then do it again. I said, I didn't say I was sorry. I said, I apologized first. And I'm also sorry that I disturbed your sleep. I said, but here's the deal. Especially since you're comparing me to someone who neither one of us are married to. Is it in my character to leave my keys? He said, no. I said, how many times have I left my keys since we've been married? None. How many times have I woken you up out of your sleep to open the door for me? None. What time did I have you to open the door? By the time you opened the door, it was just midnight. How late do you usually stay up on a Saturday night? Till about 2:30 in the morning. I also exhausted all possibilities of me getting into the house without waking you first. And even when you answered the phone, you may not remember, but I started with an apology for disturbing anything that you may have been doing. Hey, love, I'm so sorry to bother you. I said, so let me ask you a question. Based on my character, are you really ready for the apology? Are you really ready to accept it? Because once you accept the apology, you won't be upset with me anymore. And I don't think you're ready to not be upset with me. But you'll be dishonoring me by disregarding my character in this marriage, by disregarding how much I love you enough not to do this on a consistent basis. And his response, this was the best argument I've ever had. That was the response. And we made lunch together. And we further explored why it was hard for him to accept apologies, because he never really received one. But also because he had never really given one. And it took him another 3 days to come back to me and say, you know what? I realized I walked around with that energy for 3 days and you had to deal with it. And I didn't apologize for it. And I said, thank you. And he said, why is it so easy for you to accept it? I said, because I was ready for it. I knew that you weren't really upset with me. And he said, oh, still the best argument we've ever had. So that's the example that I want to give when you believe that you can accept what unconditional love really is. Unconditional love is seeing a person and seeing past their anger, seeing past their pain of being abused, misused, mistreated, ignored, abandoned, rejected, not loved on or nurtured enough. Whatever their issue and plight is, you get to see past that, and you can see where they were hurt. And 9 times out of 10, it was probably before they were age 18. It's 18 and below. And usually it's in the single digits, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can deal with that person from that place. Oh, my love, you were so hurt that the only way you knew how to get my attention and to get some type of response or reaction from me to continue this relationship, to continue to relate and resonate with me, was to try to project the same thing that was done to you onto me. Because again, we are reproducers until we learn that we are actually creators. And so he was trying to reproduce an effect from his previous relationship that I chose to cut the cord on and say, no, that's not what we do here. Here, we love without conditions. Because truth be told, his attitude did not hurt me. It did not stop my show. It did not bother me. I did not take it personally. If you read the 4 Agreements, such a beautiful book, I had to learn not to take it personally and to stand in my integrity, knowing that I did everything I could beforehand to make sure that I did not harm him or take him out of his comfort zone of whatever he may have been doing until I had to. And if your husband can't open the door for you after you left your keys, I don't know who can. So I was centered and I was okay. And I got to see unconditional love in action. My children showed me unconditional love in action one day. I think my son was 4 or 6, and we were talking about unconditional love. And my son said, unconditional love to him. He told his brother, he said, it's when even if you fart, I still love you. Because my other son he needed his pipes cleaned at that point. So we would have to sometimes get out of the car if he farted. So I felt like that was the deepest demonstration of love that my son could attest to at that time, because you could cough and choke on those farts. So for him to say, brother, I love you enough to still love you even though your farts almost kill me, that's some unconditional love. Pay attention to children. They will show you what unconditional love looks like. Both of their parents could be on drugs, abuse them or whatever, and children still call out to their original source. They still hold space for their original source. And a lot of times we think it's stupid. Your mother stole this from you, your father did that to you, and you still love them? And the child is going, yes. Because I know at the end of the day, they're really not trying to hurt me. And there are a lot of things that children do not take personally. That from the heart reaches the heart. So I want to go into our closing, and I'm going to post these links for you. And tomorrow, the same time, hopefully without technical difficulties, we are going to talk about the throat chakra. So I'm looking for questions. Mahalo from the Big Island. So blessed. Ooh, is that the song you told me about? Girl, yes. Yes. So I want you all to come back shortly and get on these links. They're going to be really important. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about why you're always defending yourself. It has everything to do with the lower chakras being out of alignment. Okay. So we're going to be talking about, let me clear my throat. All right. So get ready. I want you to ground yourself. Go back into your beautiful heart space that has now opened up maybe an inch more. Maybe it's fully blossomed at this point. I don't know. I would hope so. As long as you're willing to work on it, because this is continuous work. Okay. This is work that we do daily. All right. And I want you to close your eyes. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Inhale deeply, thinking about your heart renewing yourself, your blood, your cells. Exhale slowly, releasing that carbon dioxide and anything that does not serve you. And repeat after me. I am safe with me. I love myself. I am responsible for my creations, as they are a reflection of how safe I feel in my power. I trust myself to express unconditional love and to receive unconditional love. I trust myself to express unconditional love and to receive unconditional love. Deep inhale. Exhale slowly. Deep inhale. Exhale slowly. Your deepest inhale yet. Exhale slowly. Open your eyes and realize that who you are is the universe embodied. What you are is unconditional love expressed. And how you serve is through love, for love, by love, with love. And I want to show you some real unconditional love as I end this broadcast. Look at that. Look at that baby. You see that baby? That is the epitome of unconditional love. I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you tomorrow night. Cross your fingers for no technical difficulties. Be well, be safe, be loved. Get you some free every day, in every way, by any means necessary. Open your heart, sis. It's a beautiful thing.